And we are live, guys. Welcome to another live stream from Men of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling. Getting right into it, we're going to talk about porn. All right, this is something that I hardly ever talk about, and it's kind of because it's not really a big issue in my life anymore. Like growing up as a kid, I mean, you know, you're curious and you're thinking about it, and you find it everywhere. I mean, I grew up in a time when the internet was becoming more and more, you know, established, right? And we've all grown up with that. Unless you're, 10 years older than I am, you maybe at that time you didn't really get to see porn. So if you did see a naked woman, it was like, whoa, But in this day and age, it's kind of like we see naked women everywhere. All right, now let me explain to you something about naked women. Naked women is a distraction for men in terms of achieving their purpose and finding their purpose. All right, now it's a fantastic distraction if it's in a relationship of commitment and love. But if it's in outside of commitment and love, then it's basically a shallow distraction that won't give you long-term happiness and joy. And if that is the case, then you're basically falling for temptations repeatedly over a long period of time with usually many different types of women, and you don't get those deeper connections and the drive to keep finding your purpose and taking action on it. All right, so there's nothing wrong with naked women, right? Sex is a beautiful thing, but again, it needs to be within the commitments of love and long-term relationship. So as I say that, we live in this time and we've got to figure out what to do with it. All right, this is a huge problem for guys. Now, why is it a huge problem? Well, I'll tell you why. In terms of relationships, right? I've always continually say on my channel that relationships is the number one reason for joy and happiness in life. If you don't have your relationships in order, you're gonna have a lot of issues, a lot of problems, and it's gonna be consistent issues and problems. Once you've kind of have figured out your inner circle of people and you have meaningful relationships and you face problems together and you have a goal together, life becomes quite enjoyable. You actually end up having a life filled with joy and happiness, filled with friends, filled with people who's got your back and all of that. And then you come to the most meaningful relationship of all, and that's the one with commitment and love. In terms of your woman. And when it comes to that purpose, porn is basically adultery. It's basically, especially if you watch it behind her back and she doesn't know about it, and yet you're there searching for porn or looking at naked women and seeing things that do not help that relationship, right? And like, how is that bringing you closer to your mate? How is that helping you guys to connect on a deeper level if you are consistently increasing your desire for sex with porn and masturbation, while the more you desire it, the less she desires it? You got to understand how men and women work in that dynamic. We're opposites. If men want something a lot, the woman is designed to be your opposite and will decrease her desire. Now, if you don't desire it as much, her desire increases, right? There's a balance between there because she also has to feel that you want her in order for her desire to be up. But you're making it worse by watching porn. And if that is something that you develop as a habit over time before you get that relationship, most probably is going to be a problem once you eventually have that relationship. So just make sure, as a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 14-year-old, just don't fall into the trap of becoming addicted to porn and making that a habit, all right? Now, the second thing I want to say about it is in terms of self-discipline, all right? If you think about the world today and the population of men who are watching porn today when they have access to the internet, it is staggering how many people watch porn. It's basically the one thing that is searched for the most on the internet. Now, it's always been said that if you want to become successful, do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. Right? You gotta go against the stream and not follow the stream. This is a huge point when it comes to porn. Because with porn, if everyone is watching it, guess what? You being one of the few who don't watch it make you into a leader. Make you into someone who is worth following. All right? And that increases your self-esteem, it increases your self-confidence, and boosts you in terms of, man, a lot of these people struggle with it, and yet I don't have a problem with it, and I can actually have meaningful relationships with women. I can have female friends without thinking about them as objects. I can look around me and see this world as a beautiful place where people interact and work together. Now, people who watch a lot of porn don't necessarily think like that. They look at women as objects. They look at women in a different way than people who don't have that porn problem. You want to be one of those guys who don't have that porn problem, all right? It's going to make a huge difference. Another thing that I would say, and listen to this one. Porn and masturbation will increase your femininity and decrease your masculinity. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. Sexuality is an emotional thing. Who is most emotional? Women or men? It's women. So if you think about sexuality is actually a woman thing. All right? Yes, of course, it's an important part of men's and women's lives, but it's a system out there that people are living that is not working. And that's basically the belief and the notion that men are way more interested in sex than women are. Now, that's only because men are doing something wrong. It's not supposed to be like that, and it's not how nature designed things to be. Women are actually more interested in sex than men are in terms of their body and in terms of their physical design, the way they were created. So sexuality in itself, it produces emotions and it makes you emotional. Now, when you put that together with porn and masturbation, that is something that will increase your femininity because you're entering into their world, if I can put it like that. When you manage to discipline yourself to only have sex, when it's the right time, then you're basically becoming self-disciplined. And when you're self-disciplined, that is the key to masculinity. So if you want to be more masculine, you've got to avoid porn and avoid masturbation. And that will actually increase your testosterone levels. There was a Chinese study in 2003 that basically said that if you did not ejaculate for 7 days, on that 7th day, your testosterone levels will spike 147, hold on, I just got to say it right, 147% your testosterone levels will spike on the 7th day if you manage to go 7 days without ejaculation. Now, that is very interesting because testosterone, as we know, is linked to masculinity. So if you want to increase your masculinity, you want to increase your self-esteem, your confidence, and your emotional stability, avoid masturbation and therefore avoid porn. Because porn increases the likelihood of your masturbation thousands of %. Okay, so think about that. And in terms of loneliness, porn makes you lonely. all right? It creates a need and a desperation in you that doesn't help you to connect with other people. Now let's bring this back to business. If you want to, like the most important skill in business is the ability to create a win-win situation and be able to close someone on something that is a win-win situation for both of you, right? Because people sometimes have a hard time to decide whether they should jump on something or not, even though it's a good thing for them, right? So closing is a very important skill. And I remember when I was a gym representative, closing people to start exercising at the gym. You know, they weren't sure if they wanted to exercise there or not, and my job was to close them and make sure that they started a better health regimen and correct habits. The problem was that I really wanted the sale. And when you really want the sale, but you're doing it in terms of a needy and desperate thing, and it's a benefit for me, and it's not because I want you to be healthy and I want you to succeed and develop better health habits, then people feel that, especially women, but people feel that you're needy and desperate. And when they feel that, they actually don't want to have anything to do with you, and they're backing off, and the transaction's over. Link that back to you watching porn and masturbating. You increase your production levels of sperm, right? And that increase makes it so that you want to have sex more often, and you need sex more often, and therefore all the women that you see around you, especially the beautiful ones, become objects that you need and that you desperately want. Now, the moment you have need and desperation, guess what? They're backing off, the transaction's over. So you got to put that into perspective and understand that if you avoid porn and masturbation, your confidence among women will actually increase because you're now able to see them in a different light, and you're able to create a win-win situation, right? It's kind of, yeah. Anyway, so you got the point. So at the end here, I just want to mention that porn is an emotional need for men. Let me explain. This is, you might, I just want to make sure you don't misunderstand this one, but think about it. Okay, let's rephrase the word porn and make it into to see horny women who enjoy the wonders of sex, right? Because that's really what we're seeing on porn when we see it. It's fake, but to be able to see horny naked women like that, who enjoy it and who are in awe of the sexuality that they're in, men want that. All right. There's a quote by Henry David Thoreau where he says massive men lead lives of quiet desperation. The massive men lead lives of quiet desperation. That is something that most men go through in life, and that is so sad, because to be able to have that ability to see that, to have relationships of commitment and love where you can enjoy your woman and she actually enjoys the sexual relationship that you have with her, that's an emotional need. That's why establishing a family and creating long-term relationships with your woman is a fantastic thing. But it needs to happen at the right time. It needs to be prepared for, and you need to be ready. And also you need to have some skills that need to be developed, but you don't have to develop it by watching porn or necessarily masturbating or having lots and lots of female experiences. You don't need that, okay? There's other ways to do it to create a long-lasting, joyful, and happy life, all right? Of course, this is something that I'll be going through more and more into this channel. I gotta just end this with names of people who practiced self-mastery when it came to sperm retention, all right? These are quite interesting names. Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Plato, Leo Tolstoy, Henry David Thoreau that I mentioned earlier, Isaac Newton, Tesla, Mark Twain, Dalai Lama, Mahatma Gandhi, Steve Jobs, Muhammad Ali, Terry Crews, who's an actor right now, and 50 Cent. I mean, all of these guys have at some point in time, or for a long period of time, practiced semen retention. Semen retention is extremely difficult to practice if you keep watching porn. Get rid of it. This is the Men of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling. I'll see you again tomorrow.